Welcome to Path of the Adventurers, a game by Elias Alonso, published by Juegorama. The Path of the Adventurers is an exploration and combat board game for 1 to 4 players, where a team of adventurers will try to move along dangerous locations and defeat the Dark Lords who are causing terror on the kingdom. Choose how many adventurers will join the game according to the number of players. The recommended setup for your first game is 4 adventurers for 3 or 4 players and 2 adventurers for 2-player games. Each player takes the card of the adventurer they will play. 2 skills are recommended to start. Each player draws their starting items and places them on their adventurer cards. Then, each player takes the attribute tokens indicated by their adventurer cards. Place the village's location card at the center of the table and form a deck with all remaining location cards. Leave the enemy deck next to the locations deck. Shuffle the items deck and place it within reach of all players. Place the adventurer miniatures on the village location card, and we're ready to start. The Path of the Adventurers is played in rounds, where the players can explore the map, fight enemies, search for relics, buy items in the market, etc. Each round comprises the following phases. Event cards narrate what happens to the adventurers during their journey. Draw an event card and apply its effect. Skip this phase for the first round of the game. The adventurers will explore and move on the map during this phase. If the adventurers are already in a location by the edge of the map at the start of any round, place a new location card on each side of their current one. The full party should decide and agree on a location to travel to. When moving, the adventurers can move through locations that have already been defeated, but they cannot move through unexplored locations. When entering an unexplored location, the adventurers must choose one of 2 options. Exploration. If the party decides to explore, draw an encounter card and place it next to the location. The adventurers will have to decide if they want to retreat, moving back to their previous location and starting a new round, or if they'd rather fight the enemies and go straight into battle. Assault. If you decide to do an assault, draw an encounter card, and the adventurers will have 1 turn to position themselves and perform a free attack on the enemies. Also, each adventurer takes 2 fatigue markers. The first thing you must do is position the adventurers. The location cards will always be divided in 2 sides, the adventurer side and the enemy side. The adventurer side will be the one from where they access the location. The enemies will be placed as indicated by the encounter card, starting at the top, going down, and from left to right. After that, the adventurers take position for the battle, filling out the spaces next to the enemies. Then, determine the group's initiative. Each player, starting with the one with the highest speed value, will roll as many dexterity dice as that value. Add up all the reflexes, dodge, and critical results, and place your adventurer's token on the corresponding space of the initiative track. If 2 characters have to share the same space, the last one to enter is placed under the one already there. Finally, place on the track the tokens of all the enemies involved in the battle according to their initiative value. Whenever the initiative track marks the turn of one of the adventurers, they can perform the following actions. Movement. An adventurer can move to a different position of their side of the grid, as long as that destination space is free. For this, spend 1 dexterity marker and move as many spaces as indicated by your speed value. You may spend as many dexterity markers as you wish. Basic attack. Select a target and use as many attribute markers as you desire to roll dice of their spent attributes colors. Check the results with the weapon's difficulty. If you roll at least the same icons indicated by the card, then the attack is successful. The player applies the damage to the targeted enemy as long as it is within the range of the weapon. The damage caused is indicated by the weapon's card. Place as many wound tokens as needed next to each enemy. If an enemy has at least as many wound tokens as indicated by their card, it is eliminated and removed from the battle. When an enemy on the front line is defeated, any enemies behind it will advance to fill the now empty position. Special skills. The adventurers have special skills that they can use during their turn. Select at least one target and use as many attribute markers as indicated to roll the dice. If you roll the icons required by the card's difficulty, the attack will be successful. Afterwards, draw as many fatigue markers as indicated by the card. When the initiative track marks the turn of an enemy, they will attack. Enemies may perform different attacks or move, depending on their positions. Hand-to-hand attacks. If an enemy is adjacent to an adventurer, roll the strength dice indicated by the enemy's card. Each sword or critical result rolled is considered a hit. Then, the attacked adventurer may spend attribute markers to roll dice. Each dodge rolled will block one hit from the enemy's attack. Any remaining hits will be the wounds received by the target adventurer. When an adventurer receives as many wounds as their life value, knock the miniature down. That adventurer will not be able to perform actions until another character heals them. Ranged attack. Enemies with ranged attacks will attack the closest adventurer on their same column. If there are no adventurers there, apply the same criteria, starting with the adjacent columns. Resolve this attack in the same way as hand-to-hand attacks, but roll dexterity dice looking for bow or critical results. Movement. When a hand-to-hand enemy doesn't have an adjacent adventurer to attack, they will move to the front row. If a hand-to-hand enemy cannot attack from the front line, they will flank the adventurers and move next to the closest adventurer, entering their side of the battlefield. At the start of each round, the adventurers can try to flee from battle. When the initiative track indicates the turn of a fleeing player, return their miniature back to the location from where they accessed the battle. If all the adventurers flee from a location, any knockdown adventurers will recover 1 life point, thus returning to the party, and the encounter card remains at the location. You will have to defeat every enemy from that encounter card again on your next attempt. At the end of the round, discard 2 fatigue markers if your adventurer has any. Then, recover as many attribute markers as your starting values minus your current fatigue markers. If you have to take less than the number indicated, you may choose which ones to take. Once all the enemies have been defeated, the adventurers discard half of their current wound tokens, even knocked out adventurers. Then, they collect the rewards indicated by the encounter card. Additionally, you may take a new skill card from a category you already own. Then, the adventurers draw a random card from the 2 legendary sets indicated by the location card. These rewards are special group items that any adventurer can use. Draw 5 cards from the market deck. The adventurers may purchase these cards by paying their cost, or sell the ones they own for half of their indicated value. When characters attack a location of the same type as one that was already defeated, a lieutenant will spawn in that location. If the adventurers attack a location where a lieutenant was defeated, a Dark Lord spawns. The game may end in 2 ways. If the adventurers defeat one of the Dark Lords, they win the game. If the enemies occupy the village location and the adventurers are defeated when facing them in said location, the game ends and the adventurers lose the game.